watch this, watch this. We're going to open this in half, and we're going to put the fomentation in the middle, and then you close it. Did you guys catch that? Why? Because this is the first fomentation. He's not sweating that much as yet. So if you're using a big towel, don't be scared. You can still use it, and you can use it to your advantage very well. So not only will this help to keep the fomentation hot, but in case it's folded like this and he says, oh, it's too hot, you just open this, take out the fomentation, fold your towel nicely, then you put this on top. And we have to cover it again so the heat doesn't escape. You put another wool blanket on to keep the heat trapped. Always secure your fomentation with either a blanket or another towel, or you can use a wool blanket to trap the heat. Now, say we put that on him, let's go. 3 minutes. We're going to keep it there, right? But because he's going to be hot, what are we going to do? We're going to take it off. But after 3 minutes, we should do the cold, right? Cold application. Yes, after 3 minutes, it's time for the cold change.
What about the hot?
This one?
Oh,
I'm steaming the fomentation so you can see what it looks like. But we're not going to put it on him because he's gonna sweat. He's not a dead dumb, he's a live one, right? Okay, now for the cold, this is the cold. The only thing you need is ice and water. So before your patient comes, say you tell your patient, I'm going to give you a treatment at 8 o'clock. You have to begin to prepare at 7:45 or 7:30. So you will prepare your fomentation, you will prepare your cold, but even though you have your ice at 7:45, you don't add water to your ice until the patient comes in and he's lying down on your bed or on the bed. So when he lies down, that's when you add water to your ice because it will get cold very quickly, right? So for the cold, it's very easy. Very simple. You have mitten. This one is for the head. Now, according to your notes, it said you should have a small washcloth to put on the person's forehead, right? When they begin to sweat. You remember reading that? So this will come from the cold. As soon as you look on the patient's forehead and you can see the individual sweating, you add this one to the head just like that. Why do you do that? So that you will not have vasodilation taking place for the head, right? Always keep the head cool. Do you know what will happen if you don't? Huh? What will happen? What do you think will happen? What do you think would happen in your brain if you are vasodilated? Those little nerves, those small blood vessels in your brain. Just imagine this. You can kill someone with hydrotherapy if you don't keep the head cool, especially if the person is hypertensive. How can the patient help you to know? Well, I was getting a hydrotherapy treatment once, and I could tell that my blood pressure was very high. They were not keeping the head cool enough, and I could feel the pounding right here in the side of my head. It was like, and I knew that the cold wasn't enough. So I had to tell them, please change the cold, or else one of my blood vessels could burst in my head. So you always keep the head cool. Now, not only can you put a cold washcloth on the forehead, you can get an ice pack and put it underneath the head, under the neck, or right on the top of the head. So the patient is supposed to have a pillow, right? You remember? They're supposed to have a pillow under the head. Remember that? You can put an ice pack on the person's head. Where's the timekeeper? It's 4 minutes already. See, I don't have a good timekeeper, right? Okay, so let's go back to an imaginary time. It's now 3 minutes, and we're supposed to make our first change. So we have all these things on the patient. First thing you should do for the first change, according to your syllabi, what should you do first? What should we do? Alright, this is what you do. You have to have your pen and paper ready. First thing you want to do is prepare your fomentation for the change. You want to get the hot first. So you're watching the time, and when it says 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you know you have 30 seconds to prepare your next fomentation, get this one off, and put the cold application. So time is of essence. 30 seconds, that's all you have, half minute. So what you're going to do, you're going to go to your steamer. You go to your steamer, open it. This is hot. I don't want to put it here. Where Brian? You didn't take a tongue for me to. Alright. This is your fomentation. You take it, you bring it over, and you put it right here beside your patient first. While it's resting there, then you take these things off and you put it right on his legs, or you can put it down at the abdomen, whichever you choose. Right? Then, of course, this area will be exposed. So notice my washcloth is right here, very close. I just take it, get the excess moisture out, and you tell the patient, cold is coming, so they brace themselves, because when you put this on, yeah, yeah. And bear in mind, when you have a fever, as small as this thing is, it's very heavy and it's painful. When you have a fever already and you're going from hot to cold, this hurts a lot. So what you can do is you gently put it down, very gently. And of course you use some friction and you rub it. So you don't just hit them like that, it will hurt. Very gently, you know. Nice fall on the chest. And after you put it on there like that, you want to take this fomentation, put it here, open it, roll this one up, because this one was used already, you roll it, and you put it to the side. The time you take to come over here and to put away your fomentation, this will be on the chest for 1 minute. So after you put the cold on and you rub it, you leave it there as you go back to put away the first fomentation that was used. That will give you time. So for hydrotherapy, you have to be focused. You have to take into consideration the times when you're making all these changes. So you go away, you put away the used fomentation, you return, you take the cold off, then you use your towel to do what? Dry the surface. That's what your syllabi says. You want to dry the patient. Why should you dry the patient after you apply the cold? So that the moisture, if there is moisture and you put the fomentation, it will become unbearable. You know why? The hot fomentation will heat the water on his chest and it will burn the patient. So after you remove your cold, you get the dry towel that you're going to put on his chest, and you just sop the rest of the moisture on his chest. You cover it, and then you get your second foaming. Oh, if I put this, he will sweat. Then you get your second fomentation, you put it on, and you begin to watch 3 minutes of it. Oh, sometimes you can have an extra towel. Yeah, you can have an extra towel to dry your patient after the first change. Now, when you make the first change, you ask your patient, would you like to have some hot, more hot on the feet? Then you go for some hot water from your kettle or wherever you have it. How I was taught is ask the patient to raise the leg. That's how I was taught. Can you raise your leg, sir, please? Good. And then you add water. The book says you put your hand in there and separate it and you pour, but that can be dangerous. Just ask them to raise the leg. If they're not able to do it, say it's an older person, you can raise it for them. So you have something convenient. You raise the leg, you add the water, you hold the leg and you test it, and you tell them to try that. Right. If he says too hot, you just raise it quickly, get some cold one, and you put it there, right? So we're down to our second change. 3 minutes. You have the time? Alright, while we're working on the second change, I want you guys to experience a little of these hot things that we have. Let's start with that. Alright. You can pass this around and feel it. We have the steamer open so they're not so hot. That's their fomentation. If someone has arthritis, don't take it and put it on your knees. You know, when the patient is lying like this, in Wildwood we had a something that's from board that we would put over this one that you put your feet in. Why? So that the sheet does not fall into the water. And along with that, you can put one of these uh, blankets right over the area like this, which will help to increase sweating on this part of the body. So if you want, you can have another towel. So basically, if you have 4 fomentation and 5 towels, you'll be in good hands when it comes to equipment. So you can have one on the chest, there's 3 under the back, you have one here, and you have one line over there for your change. So you can put one towel right here on the patient, like that, so that will help to increase sweating on the leg. Right? Yes.
Are you not supposed to cover with half of the towel?
Cover. This towel is too big. Yeah, it's too big. But normally your towel would be the same size like this. So it would come somewhere over the arm. You could have the patient. 3 minutes. So it's 3 minutes. What should we do first?
Prepare.
Okay, good. Prepare the next fomentation. What's next?
I
Tell me.
prepare
Get or cold? Should we just drop it on him? Did we tell him cold is coming? What if the patient is sleeping? This will wake them up, yeah? So it's good to say cold is coming. And bear in mind, sometimes when you're giving these treatments, because of the hot and how sensitive it is, the patient can fall asleep. Yeah, they can fall. Sometimes they're giving the person a treatment and they begin to snore like that. So you tell them cold is coming. Normally the cold always wake them up, but just to be on the safe side, you tell them cold is coming. You put it on nicely. You rub it. And sometimes when you put the cold, they will, that's okay for them to breathe like that. Just make sure you rub it, or we told you you can tap or rub, right? Put it there. Next, dry it. Extra moisture, right? Then you leave it on, and then we put our next fomentation. Notice I didn't have to go back in the steamer. It was right here prepared and ready. I just took it up, put it on. This one is hot, so it's probably leave it in sweat. Right? 3 minutes. Alright. Normally you always want to check. Is the one under your back okay? How are you feeling? Do you feel dizzy? Anywhere hurt? You know? Ask them. Is it too hot anywhere in particular? And they will say, oh, it's really hot on the chest. If it's hot on the chest, what do? You come and you just raise it like this. Give it a little oxygen 2 or 3 times, and you put it down. You wait a few minutes and you ask them, is that better? If the one underneath their back, and this is very challenging, what if they say, oh, the one on my spine is so hot? What are you going to do? You add a towel. It's not easy because what if the person weighs, say, 150 kilo and they're very sickly, very old? Right? So if you know that it's going to be a big patient and it might not be enough, you by yourself, it's not easy, ask for an assistant. Take someone else with you to help to move the patient. Because to put a blanket underneath, you have to ask the patient to raise up. So they will raise their foot. So you raise your foot, just like that. And you put it underneath. Right? So you put one more blanket underneath, so that will help to decrease the heat. How much time do we have for that? Yeah, we put it on there, but I couldn't leave it because it's a hot one. Oh, sorry. Alright, let's imagine 3 minutes on spot. What's the first thing we do? It's now 3 minutes. We're ready to make the third change. This is the last change. We're giving 3 changes. What should we do? It's now 3 minutes. What should we do first thing? Hmm? No, we cannot prepare another fomentation because that's the end of the third change. So what should we do? Just go right ahead, take the fomentation and the towel off and add your cold. Right? Why do we add cold? Again? What's the local effects of cold? Constricts, right? The hot fomentation just took the blood from wherever part of his body. So what's happening physiologically? We're drawing the blood with the hot water to the feet, and we're putting it to the spine, and we're putting it to the chest. That's what's happening. And we're constricting whatever blood is in the brain, it's being constricted. That's what's happening physiologically. So we're pulling the blood to the chest. Why? Because we want to have some white blood cells because early is asthmatic. He's congested. He's having problems breathing. So we want to take the blood, the white blood cells, to go to his chest to help to fight against the flu that he's having. Right? But we don't want to vasodilate his brain, so we put cold on it. The hot foot bath is good because we put some blood down this side. So say he's having headaches before the treatment. When we take the blood from whatever is happening up to the top of the head and we take it down to the feet, what's going to happen is the headache will stop. Sometimes patient will come, they're coughing, and as soon as you start the treatment, the coughing just stops. Or it goes less and less until it comes to a hot. So we always close with cold except when we're going to be giving a massage. If we are using hydrotherapy to prepare the patient for a massage, then we finish with hot. So the third change is no hot. You don't apply cold. Why? We learned last night that the heat will bring the blood to the skin. It will make the tissues more pliable so we can massage it, right? And the muscle will be more relaxed as a result of the heat, right? So because this is a general revulsive with a hot foot bath, we're going to close the chest nicely. After we close the chest, bear in mind that he should be covered just the same. So I'm going to get you a little sweaty here. Hold on. No, we have to imagine that the patient is covered for this one. After you close the chest, you cover your patient. Why should you cover your patient? Right now, because of the hot and the cold, if you take this patient and say you're in the US, for example, and it's winter, if you take him right after the hydrotherapy and you expose him to that amount of coldness, he could die right there on the spot. He could go home and he is worse than before you gave the treatment. Why? Because the body is now exposed, it's now open, it's vulnerable, the pores are open, anything can happen. So that is why for the treatment we say to you in the syllabi, make sure that your room is well ventilated and not too much wind is coming in. So that when you remove this, to apply cold on the patient, they don't have wind. So you wouldn't necessarily have an AC room to give a treatment. You would take them to a room that doesn't have AC, or if the AC is inside, you try to cover it, or the air conditioner. You wouldn't necessarily treat someone in an air conditioning environment. You want to have a nice room temperature, just nature if possible. So here in the Philippines, you don't have winter, but you have air conditioning. Or you wouldn't have a fan blowing in the room saying it's too hot. No, that will give your patient a chill, especially after you add the hot to the patient. That's when they're more vulnerable. So we're closing the treatment now. We have done 3 changes. We're now closing. So we finish the chest. The chest is okay. What do we do next? Right. We ask the patient to lift the feet. So the water from this, that's what you will pour on the patient's feet. Why are we going to put cold water on the feet? To close the pores, right? To close those blood vessels. So you ask him to raise his legs. You might assist. You pour it on. You tell him to keep it up. Then you remove. You put it on the blanket. And you cover immediately. And you dry them. And you keep it covered like that. So as soon as you pour the cold on it, you have to dry and you have to cover. You have 15 minutes. What do we do next? According to your syllabus. No, we're not finished. There's a hot fomentation under the back. We remove. Oh, yes, you have a question.
And the syllabi says that during the treatment, the patient should be drinking water.
Yes, you should be giving your patient water. Why should you be giving your patient water? Because they're sweating, so you have to replenish the water. I wouldn't normally give water. Sometimes they would treat me, don't give me, but you can be better than my hydrotherapist in the US. Give your patient water, let them drink. What happens if after you put the first fomentation on, it's 2.5 minutes and the patient is not sweating? What can you do? Can add a blanket or give them something warm to drink. A warm drink. Didn't you see that? It's in the syllabi. Give a warm drink. Right? So he still has a fomentation underneath the back. What are we gonna do with that one? We need to close all the areas. What should he do? Put him on the side. All right. Okay. Now, in the U.S., there's a nice facility where you can go and get a cool down shower. How the cool down shower works? You go inside and they take you to hot twice and then cold twice. So you go in and the temperature is in Fahrenheit again. Sorry. You put it at 102 or 104 and you put it for 2 minutes and then you go down to maybe 60 or 50 for cold and then you do that for 1 minute. But you don't have in any place here in the Philippines that much to give a cool down shower because in the Philippines, how do you take a shower again? Tabo, right? Tabo, right? It's not easy to do a cool down shower with a towel because for me I'm bigger, so when I pour it like that, it just reaches here. Needs more water, so you'd have to like, right? And then if you don't have running water, it's much more difficult. So what you can do is we call it a cold mitten friction. We're gonna do it to both arms and both legs and also the back. So we will start with one arm. What do? You have your mittens inside your coat. And of course, remember when we were pouring this, we didn't put everything. You leave some for your cold mitten friction. So you put your towels in and then you expose just one arm only. Not the whole body, just one arm. You get your mitten, you ask the patient to hold the hand up, then you like that. So you start from the fingers, friction, this is cool, sorry. All the way down, right? And then after you're finished, you get another dry towel and you do the same thing with the dry. And then you put it right back underneath. So that's arm number one, then arm number two. Then with the legs, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get your sheet and you hold it like this. So notice I'm just exposing one leg. Now watch this position. Do you see why it would not be convenient for a male to give hydrotherapy to a woman that's not his wife? Because for this one, you're going to have to go all the way down very close to the private area. And you friction. So you're going to do to the side and also like that. Right? Did you guys catch that? Did I hold his leg up so you can see? For the mitten friction, you start at the toes. So you have one movement going on top towards the heart. When you're coming back, you move to the side. Did you catch that? So on top, so one hand is on top, one is underneath. And you will flow like that all the way to the hips. When you're coming back from the hips, one hand is to the left and one is to the right, so you will end on the side. Did you guys remember that? And I'm grading you, I'll be watching out for it. One hand on top, going towards the heart with the friction. When you're coming back, both hands is to the side. And then you do that with cold mitten friction. Then you do it with a dry towel. You put it back underneath your blanket or your sheet, whatever you're covering your patient with. You do that with the second leg. Then you cover. Then you ask the patient to raise the head. No, hold on. Before you sit up, even though we don't have any fomentation to the chest, we are still keeping the head cool for the whole time. The head must be kept cool at all times. Right? So you ask him to sit up. Can you sit up, please, sir? Yeah, you can help the patient to sit up. No, the back is ready for a mitten friction, a cold mitten friction to close. So you get your mitten and you rub it nicely, or you can put it on there gently, just the same. You tell the cold is coming. You can tap on it, you can rub it, and that will finish the treatment. After this, if no, he's naked. Where is he gonna go? He's gonna go outside and play, right? No. He needs to rest. But remember, you had plastic, you have fomentation, all these things on the bed. It's here in the Philippines. People don't have 2 or 3 rooms, so you can treat them in this room and then send them to rest in the other room. So what you can do is ask the person to get dressed in a new clothing. Why? A fresh pair of clothing. Right, because the first one when they came in, it had all the toxin, they were sweating, they were coughing. So just ask the patient to change their garments. And then while they're changing, you remove the fomentation and your plastic. Perhaps you can ask them, oh, where's an extra sheet or so? And you make their bed nicely. And you say another word of prayer. And you have them rest for at least 1 hour. And the treatment should take effect after that. Any questions? Can you guys do it tomorrow night? Huh? Group three groups of three.
Sir, about the person rheumatism.
Rheumatoid,
Rheumatism.
arthritis.
And
If you can treat them with general medicine.
you can treat yourself.
Yes, you can. You can. You can. All right. Notice while the patient was here, we learned last night that mild cold for arthritis is very good, right? The patient's knees, say the arthritis is in the knees. Notice we only place cold on the knees once through the whole treatment. And that was when we were closing with the mitten friction. That was the only time we placed cold on the legs. So for an arthritis person, they shouldn't have any problem. Why? Because they will be lying in that position and the knees will be warm for the entire treatment, except when you get your cold mitten and you just pass it over it very quickly. You won't even put cold on the knees if the person is arthritis or just a normal patient for even a minute. It's just a few seconds. 1, 2, finish. So if they have arthritis, it's okay.
May araw mo massage on the side, why not on the back?
Hmm?
Yung massage, bakit sa side?
Oh yeah, yes. It's both. It's both sides.
Side, why not on the back? Top first, and then
Top first, then the side.
So, dahil mo din,
Just once is good enough. Just once is good enough. So the person has their hand, you go like this once and this twice. And that's it. Same thing for the legs. Down once and that's it. Because you're just closing. So even for the arm, it's the same thing. You're gonna have one hand here and one here, and you start from the fingers. Remember, you start from the fingers. You do it towards the heart. When you're coming back, one on top and one under the bottom. Yeah. So you cover the entire arm, and make sure you start from the fingers, right from the fingers.
For say somebody has arthritis on the knee, you can just use the fomentation, or you don't necessarily need to use that whole treatment, just the fomentation on the knees, right?
Yes, but if you use the fomentation on the knees, if the person is arthritis, because of the heat that's coming from the fomentation, you will have to put cold on it to close the treatment just the same. And remember that I showed you and I told you to write it down. You remember the chart I showed you on the slide last night, which says stimulating, prolonged, sedative. You remember those three? short cold is stimulating. So even though cold might not help someone who has arthritis, if it's a short application, it will not make the problem worse. It's when the cold is prolonged. So if you take an ice pack and put it on someone who has arthritis for 5, 10 minutes, it will hurt a lot. But if you use your fomentation and you put it on the knees for 3 minutes and you just put cold for 1 minute, it should be fine. So you can just put fomentation on someone's knee. The arthritis is giving some problems. You just put the fomentation on the knees, and they should be okay. But always close the treatment. So if you put a fomentation, you put a little cold on it because this causes vasodilation and this causes vasoconstriction. Any more questions? We have 2 minutes.
Would like to see the water level.
Oh, the water level is just like shout over.
So how?
Yeah. See?
Full. Maybe half.
Half yung tita nilagay ko.
I don't know. Kuya is the one who added the water.
Half.
Yeah. Then put it in, it was half.
So this one.
Yes.
Again, question again.
What's the question?
How many hours will last it? And one treatment. How many hours?
Alright,
Only the changes.
in one treatment,
Yeah.
3 changes.
How many hours? 30 minutes?
Alright, let's work it out. How how long will the treatment last for?
1 hour or
You guys are guessing.
45 minutes?
Do you have a pen? Get your syllabi. Let's work it out. Let's work it out. As soon as the patient lies down and you put the first fomentation on, how long should the first fomentation be? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. According to your syllabi, how long should you have the cold on the chest or the body? 1 minute. So, see, 1 minute. So, that's already 4 minutes, right? For the first change. Multiply 4 minutes by 3 changes. That's 12 minutes, right? How long will it take you to do cold mitten friction on both arms, both legs, and the back, along with pouring cool? How long? You can do all that in 1 minute? So say 3 minutes it will take you to finish closing the rest of the body area. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. The treatment should take you 15 minutes. But if you are nervous and you have to go back to your syllabi to read and scratch your head sometimes and you stop and you pray, Lord, what did the teacher say again? It may take you 4 hours, right? So if we practice and practice and practice, we should get it right. So for tomorrow, I need to put you guys in groups. Let me see you. Raise your hand for those who are registered for the course. One. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 students, right? Will you guys be here tomorrow? Yeah. Sure? Alright, so 18 divided by 3 is 6 groups. 6 groups. So each group will have 3 persons in there. Sister Wendy, what's the easiest way to get 3 people to a group? Just ask them to select partners or might be, but these 18, they just told me they will be here tomorrow. Yeah. Then the next one, they will just observe and then we can make a group out of those newcomers that come. Because the 18 here, I think I see these faces every night, basically. These 18s, I see them pretty much every night. So the new ones who come, they will just observe. That is why when you're demonstrating with your group, it's basically you'll be teaching hydrotherapy treatment. You'll be teaching your audience. So if someone comes for the first time, you just treat it as if they don't know anything, right? So come tomorrow night. It would be good for us to know our group members tonight, right? So raise your hand again. Watch this. Raise your hand again. Raise your hands, please. You're registered? Okay, you? So one, two, who else? Three. One, who have one? Raise your hand. Just raise it. One, two, three. That's another group. One. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If it's a group that has female, then we'll have a female be the guinea pig so they can practice. One, two, you're ready? Three. So these are your two group mates. One, two, three, three. So these are your two group mates along with the young man. One, two, three, and one, two. We need one more. Need one more. We need one more. Kuya. Yes, we will join this group. Alright? So he's their group member. Tomorrow night, okay, watch this now. The treatment is supposed to take you 15 minutes. How many 15 minutes do you get out of 1 hour? The class lasts for 1 hour. So 4 groups should be able to practice, but we will put 3 groups. Just to be on the safe side. 3 groups. So that's 4 to 5 minutes of class will be spent in a one group. You have 15 minutes to practice. After 15 minutes, time up, we'll critique you and now the next group. So tomorrow night, group 1, group 2, and group 3 practice tomorrow night. So we will start class with prayer and the Bible text, and then group 1 will practice. Then group 2, then group 3. And we'll do that until
We need to be reciting the procedure, or
That is why I told you for this class you take notes. Don't ask me tomorrow, what should we do again? You have 15 minutes to figure it out. After 15 minutes, time is up.
I know you are doing it. Oh, you have to get the commentation.
Yes, yes, you have to tell. You will be doing it and teaching us how to do it at the same time. So you will say, okay, you get your fomentation, you prepare, you go, you tell them, Coldest, everything that I've done, you need to do it.
But anyway, we can speak in Filipino, right?
Yes,
So that
even,
you-
yes,
so
even
that
with
we
the
don't understand.
But you can say that.
Okay, Lucano.
Tagalog and Ilocano, huh? Okay. Let us pray. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you so much, and as we have seen how we can use the general evulsive with a hot foot bath, we just pray, Lord, that as we group 1, group 2, and group 3 practice tomorrow, we just pray that your Holy Spirit will be with them as they take the opportunity to go back to their syllabi to read the information. We just pray that you may help them, that you may equip them, that you may strengthen them. And we just pray ultimately that as we see this treatment being practiced over and over, may it come home to our hearts so that we can use it to save many lives. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Alright? And then gabi po sa inyo lahat.
We have one male in our group, so who is supposed to girl?
My maid.
We'll find out. We'll
Kasi
find
diba,
out.
asking ko lang ako.
What we need is all 3. So what we will do basically is,
Tayo.